party people. I am here. Welcome to Making a Graphic Novel with Alicia Dianne. I'm just on my comic today because I ran out of makeup and I just want to show my nails, which I did just get done. But welcome to everybody here from Meetup. Welcome to everybody on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm really grateful for you guys. I'm really grateful for anyone who are specifically thank you for being a part of it. So each individual person that comes to this channel, I really do. I want to tell you I appreciate you so much, because I remember when I was started out on my YouTube channel a few years ago, and let me tell you, I had 19 subscribers for it was over a year straight. It was a long time, and I just kept on showing up, and I was like, one day whatever I'm saying is going to be useful to somebody. I don't know who, but it's going to be useful to somebody. So I just want to say we're almost at 600 now. It's a few years later, and I just am so grateful for each person who shows up here, truly. So let's get started. What are we going to talk about today? I feel like I'm a little bit hyped. And I did have some coffee and I did have some matcha, but I feel like this is a lot going on this week. This is some stuff going on in my life, in my job, and I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I'm going to try and see as much as I actually can share that's possible. I know that I cannot share everything because it feels like it's like a pending case. It's not like a legal case, but it's a situation that's in the works right now, and I'm still trying to figure out the whole story. So I don't want to give wrong information if it turns out that what I'm thinking is not actually the whole case, or I don't know. So I just want to figure that out. I do want to say, I guess I do have some announcements. I did send out a newsletter yesterday, and if you're not a part of that yet, you can subscribe for the newsletter. I do not spam at all. I actually don't send nearly enough as I should. I probably send usually once a month. I'll send something, but I really would like to get to once a week. So even if I am at my goal, it's still not a lot. If I don't have anything to say, then I don't send anything. So I think that all of the newsletters I send out have some sort of nuggets in there, and most of the time I'm giving something away for free or something along those lines. Alright, so I guess the announcement this time is that Cartoon Art Center, which is the community portion of my art company, is starting a brand new book club. And so you guys can see that on my website. If you go to the Cartoon Art Center blog, it's under the contact. We're going to be reading this awesome book. I did read pieces of it before. I read it in chunks, but now I want to do more of a formal deep dive into it. And it's called Perspective Made Easy. And the artist who wrote it is Ernest Norling, I believe is his last name. But anyway, we'll be starting that tomorrow, so you definitely want to go over to the website if you haven't already and just check out the book club. I think I'll also post a link to the meetup group because I haven't done that yet. I just sent it out in a newsletter. Alright, so today we'll be working on this spread. Actually had to redo one of the spreads that I did before because I talked before I was using two different paints. And one of the paints I was using really was not the best quality, and so it ended up making my character look weird, so I had to do a spread over. Sometimes that happens. I mean, these spreads don't take a couple minutes. They take hours and hours to do. I think the redo took me 8 hours total. So I mean, if you mess up, it kind of you lose a lot, but I would say it's worth it because you don't want to go ahead and put a book out and you're not happy with all of the illustrations. I mean, your book is going to last forever. So that's one of the things that that probably we can get into today, because I went through a couple of things with printing. And the first one I did, the first book, there was a few illustrations that I had to do over, and I might have talked about that before, but sometimes, especially with a medium like watercolor, and you just don't know if it's gonna perform how you want it to every time. Usually, like, if you're somewhat used to it and you have a decent brand, or like not even a decent brand, I think you need a good brand for watercolor. The cheap stuff is just not really worth it. I'm thinking of dumping all of my cheap paint and just replacing it. I even have like one palette that's like that I use for certain like background items that I paint with the cheap paint, but I'm thinking I just want to dump all of that and just only use the really good stuff, because I noticed the difference. I can see, I don't know, it just feels better to draw with the good stuff. This panel's a little bit brighter than it needs to be, so let me see if I can water it down a little bit. I just want to have like a tint on it. I don't need it to be bright yellow. But when you get into the publishing world, and I was kind of talking to someone this week who also is a cartoonist, and she does like her own graphic novels, and I was kind of, it made me think, like, I think she's one of the only people I really talk to who has like their own who also has their own comic book out in the world, or a graphic novel, however you want to put it. I mean, I would consider her work to be like a graphic novel, because it's like a thick, you know, book, and it's, you know, it's like a whole book. It's not like a magazine style. So it made me think too, like, how helpful it is to just have other people that you know, or to like, how cool is it to know other people who are doing what you're doing, because it can feel like really, it can feel like a really lonely space sometimes. I know that I get that way when I feel like, oh, and I wish I had a mentor. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I want. It's like really like a mentor who's done all the things I want to do. And I feel like I want to do a lot. I feel like I'm just starting out with my life plans. I still feel like I have a ways to go. I mean, I've been in this business, like the art business. God, I consider myself starting after I graduated from art school. So that was in 2010. So 14 years I've been doing this, like, as a professional, quote unquote. No, as a real professional. But so, I mean, I do feel like I have a lot to share and a lot to teach other people. But at the same time, I feel like no matter how far you go, there's always somebody who's been doing it longer. People have been doing it 60 years. So I want to have, as well as like being able to help others, I want to have someone more personally help me. Because I have like mentors, I do. But I need like more direct mentors, or like more, like, I'm wondering if people actually do that for free. Probably not. I mean, if you want help, you probably have to. I mean, it's worth paying for. So I'm just thinking I want to step up my mentor game, because I definitely feel like I have still a lot to learn. That's how I feel anyway. I'm gonna let it dry for a couple seconds, but maybe in the meantime I can show you a little bit of what I have already. So let's see. Oh, I have to go grab a sheet. So I've been keeping my work in a binder. And let's see. I might have talked about that already. But let me share. I mean, I feel like some of the first round was better than the second, but there's a couple of things in that first that I need to like replace. So maybe I can like kind of show them side by side. This one is what I was working on. So that is like the original one, or like you can see in her skin, it does get a little bit messed up. Looks like I didn't put the ink in that part either. And this is the second one, where the complexion looks a lot clearer, but at the same time I think I like her better than here. So I might keep these panels and then swap out like those two for those. And let's see. And then I also have like this is where like it really got messed up with the complexion. Over here and here it got like splotchy and like too dark. Then this is like the redo where it feels a lot more clear. And that I think is really the big difference was the paint brand that I used made like a huge difference, I think. So it does matter every once in a while, or like sometimes you can really get away with it but this thing is it's not that predictable when you're not using a paint that's really good quality. Alright, so there's that. And I have a lot of blank background panels here. So usually I like to kind of put in a color that I feel like fits in with the mood or the emotion that my character is feeling, because I don't feel like you need to have like your whole background showing in all the panels. Obviously, if you look at like some of any of the graphic novels or comics that you do like, you'll see that the artist didn't always share like the whole background image, and sometimes that can be distracting too. That's what I'm also realizing. So for this one, she's kind of alert, so maybe I'll just do a yellow, like a bright yellow. You can use like symbolism, like with your colors as well. What did I want to talk about? I did want to like, talk about getting like the printing sort of thing. I'm thinking I might use a different printer than I used the first go around. The printer I used was here in the United States, which that has its perks, but at the same time it makes it considerably more expensive, and it could be worth it if the consumer really valued it, but it seems as like I don't know how valued that is by the consumer where the print is actually made. Like for me, I don't know, maybe I would just rather a cheaper book, because especially I'm money conscious, then I'm going to buy the book regardless if I really like the artist, like regardless of where they get their prints done. But I just want it to be a good quality. I definitely don't like to have like a bad quality book, because you can definitely see that when it's not a good quality. So, but I don't know, I'm thinking of finding a book printer that produces overseas. I mean, I think they're mostly in China, but I don't know. I'll have to like do some more research. The production side of things, or like the manufacturing side of things, has always been a little bit blurry to me. Like I feel a bit unsure about it. Like the process itself is, I really wish I understood it more, because right now it makes me uncomfortable and I don't like that feeling. So I want to, that basically just tells me that I need to learn more. I need to understand what the real process is, because right now the only reason why it makes me uncomfortable is because I don't understand it. Having your hand in multiple pots. Um, One of my mentors says that a lot. He says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because he's English, so he says basket or basket. However you say it as an English person. But it's true, because you can think that everything is going well and everything is fine, but next thing you know, you could be getting screwed over. And not to scare anybody, but it happens a lot, apparently. I feel like it's so easy to just like get dumped, like not even just not talking about a relationship, but like in in a work situation, like you can just get dumped. It can happen, and it does happen. And so that's where it comes in handy to like have multiple baskets, because apparently you really never know like how long something is going to last. It could be great one minute, and then next thing you know, it's really not so hot. And then what do? Well, hopefully you have something kind of simmering in the background, so that way, like, when one thing ends, maybe you can switch something over to the big fire, that would be like your main thing. But man, I just feel like I'm realizing that more and more. It's like, and the thing is too, like I already had like the multiple baskets, but only one basket was paying me. So what do you do then when you have all these other baskets, but then they don't pay? Or like, it's like, like doing this type of work, working on my own project, I love it, but at the same time, I need another basket because this one's not paying yet. So I'm preparing to hopefully, or trying to set it up to one day it will, but like that's so unpredictable too. Like you don't know when it's going to come back. It's like you send off it's like you raise a little baby chick, and then it grows up, and then you let it go, and you love the little chick. And you love it even when it's a full-grown bird. But after you let it go, it's like, okay, one day it will come back to me, but when? There's no way to know. Especially you don't have a tracking device. It's just kind of free, especially if you release it someplace that's ideal. You want it to kind of thrive on its own, but it's like, man, I raised you, come back to me someday. I know that might be like an abstract metaphor, but it's kind of how I see it. It's kind of how I see, like, when you make something, maybe it will come back. Hopefully it will come back, but are you sure? No. You don't know. So it's a little bit scary. Right now I'm in a position where I'm experiencing an unexpected change. And I guess it's a bigger change than I was planning for. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to jump ship, but it's like I called my Uber like safety boat, and it wasn't expected to come for like another hour, but I need it in like 5 minutes. So now now what? I know I'm using a lot of metaphors, but that's the only way I can really describe it. It feels like that's the only way I can describe it, because that's the only way that I'm thinking about it. It's like, alright, I wasn't expecting this ship to go down so quickly. I was expecting it to last for a while, but it seems as though I might have to leave a little bit earlier than expected. So I have to plan for that. Or do something, Or at least just be ready in case of a shipwreck. That's all you can really do, is just be ready. But I don't know. I'm not really sure what my place is sometimes. I think I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know I'm supposed to be doing this. I also know it's not the only thing that I'm supposed to be doing. It feels like I have, like, and I realize too that I'm only one person. There's only so much I can do, but at the same time, I know that I also need to earn a living while I'm doing this very slow cooker job of making a graphic novel series. So what do you do? I mean, it's not something that I feel is uncommon either. I feel like if you are out there and you're trying to think about making your own graphic novel series or your own, even just one graphic novel, I mean, it's likely you probably have another job somewhere, right? Like you're probably doing something else as well, because it's kind of at least where most of us start off at, because it's like you can't sell something before it's made, typically. So what do you do in the meantime? I don't know. It's a little hard to say. Alright. That's kind of my rant. I feel like I'm not sure. And I had another pot too that I thought was going to come through, and it never boiled. I know you're probably sick of these cooking metaphors, but I was like, I always had my eye open for like some other type of pot, but then one that I was really excited about never really happened. I don't know, it still could happen, but it's kind of like, feels like, you know, waiting for the return or waiting for, Judgment Day. It's like, that could be a really long time from now. I don't know. It could be like after I'm already gone. So it's kind of hard. I don't know. I guess you have to kind of decide for yourself what's worth waiting on and what's not. And what you can really do with your time and what you cannot. It's hard to say. I feel like it's so different for everybody. I know that I wasn't expecting anything to be like how it is right now. Like I didn't expect to be working on this when I first moved to Los Angeles. It was in the mix, but I didn't know what it was yet, I guess. And if you're new to my channel, what I'm saying is I didn't know I was making a graphic novel at first. I just knew I had a story that I wanted to tell, but I didn't know what it would be. And I didn't even think I was going to be writing it myself. I just thought, like, alright, maybe I'll find somebody who can put the story to words, but it ended up being me to put my own story to words. So what do you do then? But it's a long project. It's a big project. And I need to have other things going as well. I'm also the type of person that I get like creative ADHD. Like I need multiple things to occupy my brain because I get like, I want to say bored, but it's not bored. It's something else. And I think it's like, what is it? Exhausted? I get drained, I think. I think that's probably a better word because I don't feel bored with it. I just sometimes feel like my brain needs a break to think of something, I don't know, lighter. Especially because my story series is so heavy. Like the content is like heavy stuff. So I think sometimes I need like something lighter, like, so. And I even have another project that I'm working on with someone I met when I was in grad school. Like she was an animation major and I was and I took a animation class, and we ended up becoming really good friends. And she actually really likes one of the stories that I made, and since we didn't finish it back in school, we decided that we would work on it together. So I also have that I want to work on, but all of that is voluntary too. It's like I have things that I want to do creatively, like, so there's no lack of things to do, but it's money. Isn't it always? It's money that's the issue, because it's like, okay, yeah, I want to do that, but I also need to earn some money as well. I don't know, maybe I just need to find a grant person who can help me to be able to work on these projects and not be homeless at the same time. As that's, being homeless is never a good thing. I don't know. It's stuff you think about when you're an artist, though. It's like, alright, I do have to pay for stuff, pay to live. But, you know, I also want to get all these creative projects out of me. I don't know. It's definitely not easy stuff to figure out. I'll say that. It's not easy. I still haven't got it all worked out yet. I'm still trying to find my way. I think I will, but oof, who knows how long it'll take till I really have stuff figured out. Till I really have my stuff together. I don't know. What is it that you do to, I don't know, stay afloat? How do you work on your projects? Have you started? That's one thing I found a lot when I was in my meetup, whenever I talk to people who are also interested in making comics. And they always have like an idea. And then, like, I ask them about it, and it just seems like they just get stuck. Or they're not really sure how to move forward. That happens a lot to people. And I feel discouraged because I want you to just like work on it, and that's why I like ask about it. But I think people don't really know how to start. When I look back myself, I had a hard time starting too. Like, I know that it wasn't easy for me because I wasn't sure how to do it. And my advice would be, first things first is you need a protagonist. That's what I think comes first. You need to have a protagonist, and you need to have, what is it that you want them to learn? Or what is it that they're going to be learning through your story? Or what is the life lesson that you're trying to share with the world? I think that's important. I feel like if you don't have that, then go back to the drawing board or live life a little bit until you have something. Think of something, or it could be even somebody that you saw go through that. Did you see somebody that went through something like that? That had to learn some sort of a lesson? I think you kind of have to live this a bit and learn some things. And when you do learn those things, you have to take note of what it is that you learned. Hopefully you do take some kind of note. Let's see. There's no order really for which panel I'm coloring first. It's just whatever one. I want to get everything. The whole goal is to have everything covered with at least one layer of flat color. Everything needs to be covered, so backgrounds first, and the goal is just to paint everything. It goes the same digital. You just want to get rid of all the white space. That's kind of the first goal. But I think everyone needs to like I mean, for me, I'm a character-based artist and writer. So I think you kind of have to have a character. Somebody that you should really like your main character. Or, I feel like your main character should be, I don't know, likable. I think they should be. You want to have a likable character. Relatable for sure. Or else it's like, I don't really think that your audience will be able to connect if you don't have that. Like, first. I think that needs to be cemented. Like, really solidly. Okay. And then where do you start? I think you need to decide your page frame after you finish the writing process. You gotta learn what, 3-act structure is. Learn that. It doesn't take that long. It sounds intimidating at first, but it really doesn't take that long. You gotta learn the 3-act structure. But when you have your writing and you have your character and you want to know where do you start then, I think you gotta have a page layout. Like, you gotta know what the size is that you're using. And that is where your pictures are. You gotta know what that is. That's really important. At first, I didn't know that at all. And I just started making pages, and then they were not consistent. And I had to redo them and resize them. And that wasn't fun. So I think that, I don't know how often that is like people that's taught, or how often like people realize that that's a thing that you have to do. But that is a really important step. So you can't skip that. You need to know what your page layout is, and you have to keep that part consistent. You can change the spreads you can change your panels within that page template, but create like yourself a Photoshop document template with the exact sizes that you need in the right dimensions. So you should have like 300 pixels. I think that's important. And know like what that size dimension is. Excuse me, sorry. Even if you're using a traditional paper, you should have like, this part should be the same. And they sell those too. Canton actually makes comic page layout paper. You can buy that. It's called comic page board or something like that. So sorry. I don't know why I'm choking. I wasn't sure like what I wanted to do with this, but I think I'm gonna leave that kind of blank, or maybe just put like a pale blue in the back. But I want to kind of leave that as it is. Sorry. I feel like I may be slightly dying, but let's keep going. Alright, what color do I want to put? She's kind of embarrassed, so maybe I'll put like a reddish orange to like symbolize blush, or maybe like a pinkish red to symbolize that she's kind of blushing. Embarrassed. She's getting water from this water vendor, but her normal guy Jesus Christ. Excuse me. I can't like breathe. So if I die on camera, at least you don't see my face. At least. Okay, anyway, let's keep moving. I may need to just not talk for a second. I need some elevator music to play when I decide to choke. I'm not too worried about like the bleed out on the side. I mean, I try to make it as even as possible, but sometimes it will just bleed, and it's okay. And just remove it in Photoshop, or not, depending on how serious it is. If it's a lot, then I'll just take it out. Alright. Here goes this. Don't know why I can't breathe today. Okay. I'm almost done all the backgrounds, that's good. Usually doesn't take too long to get those in. I do a better job sometimes cleaning out my brushes because I leave the wrong color. And it happens sometimes. Alright, so let's get this in there. Alright, so you want to have, I think research is really important too. I think this kind of goes with the it goes with the writing stage, but it also goes with the visual art stage. It's important to like do visual research as well as like contextual research. So you want to know like the theme, the scene, the geographical location, like the culture. You want to understand it to the best of your ability. You're not going to get it completely perfect, especially like, I mean, you're just not going to get it perfect. So I think removing perfection is a very important part of this process of making a book or any type of artwork at all. If you try to be perfect with it, you won't do anything. Like, I know that everything is not correct. It's just not. It's not going to be. It can't be. I mean, first of all, I've never been to Africa, so it can't. I know it's not going to be perfect. But did I at least try to learn everything I could? I sure tried to learn as much as possible. I mean, I already knew that I'm going to continue, it's going to be a continuous learning process, but try and learn what you can about the culture. And, you know, but don't like think that it's going to be perfect. I think if you have a good intention, then that will show. Like, if you really have like good intention for what you're trying to do, it will show. People can see through like the BS, the bull shenanigans. If you have a good intention, and then try to see like, you know, what you can learn from other storytellers too. Like, see if there's anything like what you're doing out there. If there's anything even like a little bit like it. I hadn't seen anything like what I'm doing when I started, but after I started like getting into it, first of all, your eyes are going to be more attentive to notice that sort of thing, and that's what will happen. You'll start to notice things. I noticed stuff at like a local library that I probably wouldn't have like seen or even thought about before, but because I was working on this project, I was like, oh, that's, you know, that's related to what I'm doing. Let me get that book. So I, you know, rented the book, and then I ended up buying my own copy. And that was a Kisi, which is on the other coast of Africa. It's on the east. It's on the western coast, and my story is on the eastern coast. So that sort of series is like in Cote d'Ivoire, which is Ivory Coast, but it taught me a lot. Like just like all the visuals and the culture. It was really an awesome story to read, and it's like that one is a series too. I think there's like 4 or 5, but those are like really thick, and they have like it's all like mini stories, like a Sunday sort of comic type of thing. It's all like mini stories of this little girl in Ivory Coast, which is awesome. I really enjoy the series. Even now, I look through it to like see the visuals. But see if there's anything like what you're doing. Even if it's like a fictional location, you can probably find something similar. Because what is new under the sun? Nothing. Everything has kind of been done. You're just redoing it, or you're just reinventing what's been done to your own, through your own like vocal lens, or like visual lens, I should say, not vocal lens. We're not singers, but through a visual lens, you're recreating something that's already been done. So find the things that have been done, see how they did it, and see if you can learn something from it, or steal something from it. Great artists steal. That's what Pablo Picasso said. It's true. I mean, you're gonna take tidbits from other artists. You should be taking tidbits from other artists, because somebody came before you and did something excellent. So take it. You know, I'm sure you're not inventing your own like materials. I didn't invent watercolor, so somebody did it before. You're just finding ways to do it your way. Okay. Sorry, I'm choking today. How else? What else would be helpful? I'm trying to think. It's also helpful to find like documentaries and informational things about the subject matter that you're trying to do, whatever that is. I mean, fictional and non-fictional. I mean, you're gonna find fictional stories, but if you can find some real life stories too, that's helpful. I watched a ton of documentaries before making this, like about not just East Africa, but like all over the continent. Some in South Africa, some are like doing different different locations. If you can find some sort of information, like just to kind of help put you in the mindset, it's helpful. So I would definitely recommend watching documentaries, sketching things that you see. I did like a whole collection of like paintings, just kind of sketching from like different photographs I seen and different stories before I even started this. So I think all of that is part of the research and was part of the research for me. However intensive you get with it, it's really up to you. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. But if you're stuck, doing stuff like that can help you. Or even if you're not really sure where to begin or feel like you need to learn more, all of that kind of thing can help you to just keep moving forward. I forgot I was recording for a second. My brain just kind of left the room. My brain left the building just for a second because it wanted to be like Elvis. And it left the building. I love Elvis. I might have told you guys that before, but I do. And if you're not sure what to draw, I'll just draw Elvis. Maybe I'll do a cameo. Just like a random like person. Like maybe he'll be one of the missionaries. Just kind of like. No, stop it. Oh my god. I will always wonder like how I want to put like a little Easter egg. I always love the concept of Easter eggs. That's a fun thing too. Like it doesn't have to be obviously Elvis, but adding little like, especially if it's something that you already Disney does is like pro at this. They always include some part of their intellectual property into all of their new intellectual property. Like it's sometimes it's really subtle, sometimes it's obvious, but they always point back to themselves. They always have a little Easter egg, and I think that's a really cool thing. And I think it's something that, you know, you don't have to be like a mega corporation like Disney to do that. You can point back to yourself or to like somebody who inspired you in a little Easter egg. And I think it's even more fun if it's subtle. Because then you can talk about it one day when you're hosting or at a panel talk. You could be like, oh, on page so and so there's a reference for this, and then people are going to want to see that. I think that sort of thing is really fun. And it does add like a little bit of excitement, I think, for you as the creator to be able to incorporate stuff like that. Smooth this out a little bit. Oh crap, I just smudged it. That happens sometimes. Sometimes I can fix it well, sometimes it's destroyed. Alright, it looks okay. I have to like watch myself. So, the biggest threat to your art is yourself. TM. Who said that? I did. It's true though. I mean, like, metaphorically and for real, like, you can destroy your art if you're not careful. Don't destroy your art. Take pride in it. Only you can make it. And I think it's even more fun. Like, the imperfections make it you. Strive to make it well, but don't strive to make it perfect. It makes it, I don't know, it's just, I remember like reading this beautiful comic. Like, the illustrations were gorgeous, and it was so nice. And when I started reading it, I was like, I lost interest very soon because the story seems like the story just wasn't there. So even if you have like a really beautiful story, if you don't have a very beautiful like illustration, if you don't have a meaningful, I think what makes it good is not even like how necessarily skilled you are as a writer. I think it's more like how meaningful you make your story. I really think that. I mean, of course, you want to understand writing, but what makes it really strong, I think, is, you know, how like personal and how meaningful is the message that you have, or even how symbolic is the message that you have. Because like just having a really symbolic story can really impact people, and when you get people on an emotional level, like, that's it, you're in. That's what you need to do, is get some emotion, some type of emotion. Grab it. Grab people by the emotion. TM. Don't grab people by, you know, other stuff. Grab them by their emotions. And hopefully, I think that's all you need to do, really. Is get them emotionally invested in you and what you're doing, what you're saying, and they're gonna like stick with you, I think, because those are the type of people that I stick with. You can look at the type of people you stick with. It's usually the ones that make you feel something. Whatever that is. Alright. Alright. Let's see here. how much we can get in the allotted time that we have remaining together. Hopefully we can get some good detail in, at least all the background. I think we're doing pretty good on that. I had to change her face this morning because she was way off model. I'm like, oh no, this needs to look like my girl. You know, she's like making a face. Sometimes you still have to double check and make sure that you're staying on model. And that just means that your character is your character. Your character still looks like your character cohesively from panel to panel. Hopefully they do. I think it's really important, especially in this field, that you're able to redraw your own drawings. That you're able to tell a consecutive story, a cohesive story, a sequential story. It's really important in this field. I remember when I was very young, I was probably in like 4th grade, and I made this drawing, and then something happened to the drawing, and somebody was like, oh, just draw it again. And I was like, I can't draw it again. That was the drawing. Like, like, I had no idea how to recreate a drawing that I did. I was just like, you know, had some good drawing days, some bad drawing days, but if I did a really good drawing, then I was like, all right, that's it. You better cherish that, because that's all it's going to be. But I'm so sorry, I'm choking today. I can't breathe for some reason. But what I wanted to say was, I think in this industry of sequential art, you have to know how to redraw. And it goes for animation too. You have to know how to draw something and then draw it again better. Like this, if you don't have that skill, then you have to learn it. And the only way you can learn it is from just drawing a lot. Drawing your butt off and like drawing the same character over and over again, drawing them from different angles, drawing other people's characters and seeing how accurate you can draw them. Because I think that helps you to be able to redraw your own characters too, is being able to redraw something that somebody else made, but be able to draw it like they made it. It is definitely a skill. And I think that anybody can learn it if they want to. Anybody that is artistically inclined, I'll say, if you're an artist, you can learn how to do it. If you're a visual artist, I think it's something that you can learn how to do. You just have to have, like, definitely this is like all animation, comics, it's definitely for people that have patience with art. You have to teach yourself that too, because it is very time consuming. But if you love it, I think it's more like for people who love it. If you don't love it, then really don't. Just don't. You gotta love it. You really have to love this stuff. And that's the key. You have to love it enough to learn. You have to learn to act structure. You have to love it enough to learn shots, shot angles, storyboarding. You have to love it enough to learn culture and story building and world building. You have to love it enough to read other people's work. You have to love it enough to redo illustrations and redo pages. Like, all of that stuff comes from love, I think. And I think that's probably, if there was ever a secret to making art, to getting good at it, to getting pro at it, I think that would be the secret. Is just that you have to love this, because there's no other way you'll be able to stay committed through the thousands and thousands of hours, and I'm not I'm not exaggerating. This is the only way you'll be able to do it. I think it is like the only secret here is you have to love this. So with that said, I think we're at time. Hope that you work on your art today. Hope you work on getting things done, starting your story, creating that character, creating your protagonist, and just, if you love it, then just commit yourself. You'll learn all the ropes. Give yourself time to learn. Watch documentaries, read some books on storytelling, watch videos on storytelling, and you'll learn more than you knew before. You're not gonna be perfect. I'm not perfect, but I'm writing anyway. I'm telling stories anyway, because I feel like I have something to say. And that's really all you need, is just love it and have something to say. And with that being said, be grateful, live balanced, be yourself, and until next time, peace out, my friends. I'll see you next week.